The small town of Millbrook sits in a valley where mountains rise like giants. In the distance,
Move! It's coming!
Eli Harrison
I'm trying!
stands
Let
at
go!
the fence of St.
No!
Martha's
It's too
home
close!
for children. His fingers wrapped around the cold metal links. The evening sun makes long shadows stretch across the patchy grass. Eli is 16 now, but he's lived here since he was 9 when the car crash took his parents away forever. The wind carries the smell of dinner cooking. Tonight is meatloaf night. But Eli isn't hungry. He's watching the road that leads to town, where someday he'll walk away for good. Eli, inside now, calls Ms. Winters, her voice sharp like a bell. Dinner in 5 minutes. Eli's room is small, just big enough for a bed and a desk that wobbles on uneven legs. He keeps his few treasures in his backpack, safer there than in the drawers where younger kids might snoop. He unzips it now and takes out the photo. His mom and dad smile back at him, their faces faded from years of being held. He can barely remember their voices now. Next to the photo is his book, The Call of the Wild. The pages are soft from being read so many times. And last, his notebook filled with drawings of motorcycles, each one detailed with parts and engines that he studies from library books. One day, he whispers to himself, tucking everything back safely. One day, I'll build my own bike and ride away. At dinner, Eli sits alone at the end of a long table. 23 kids live at St. Martha's, but none are his friends. Most are younger, noisy, with food fights and stories. Eli eats quietly, saving half his meatloaf wrapped in a napkin. Later, he'll sneak it to the 3 stray cats that live behind the kitchen. The cats trust him now. The orange one even lets him pet its head sometimes. Sleep never comes easy in a house with so many kids. Eli stares at the ceiling, counting cracks in the paint until his eyes get heavy. He dreams of roads that never end, and wind that smells like freedom. Morning brings the same routine. The rush for bathrooms, the hunt for clean socks, the race to catch the school bus that never waits. Millbrook High School looms gray and brick, a place where Eli tries his best to be invisible. He slides through hallways with his eyes down, backpack hugged close to his chest. Well, look who it is, comes a voice that makes Eli's stomach twist. Deacon Mills stands with 3 friends, all wearing the same football jackets, with gold letters that shine under the lights. If it isn't the nobody from nowhere, Eli tries to walk faster, but Deacon steps in front, blocking the way to English class. Deacon is taller by 5 in, wider by 20 pounds of muscle. His smile never reaches his eyes. I asked Mrs. Porter, why you never talk about your family for those dumb sharing projects, Deacon says, loud enough for others to hear. She told us you're an orphan. What's that like, having nobody who wants you? Laughter ripples down the hall. Eli feels heat climb up his neck, his cheeks burning red. I need to get to class, he mumbles, the words barely making it past his lips. Oh, it speaks. Deacon pushes Eli's shoulder. Not hard enough to knock him down, but enough to make Eli step back. Nobody would even notice if you disappeared, orphan boy. You're already a ghost. The bell rings, saving Eli from whatever might come next. He hurries into class, sliding into a desk in the back corner, where nobody sits near him. English is about poetry today. Words about feelings that make no sense to Eli. He opens his notebook instead, sketching the engine he read about yesterday. His pencil moves fast, drawing cylinders and pistons with careful detail. This makes sense. This has rules that don't change. Lunch means hiding in the library. Mrs. Peterson, with her white hair and glasses that hang from a chain around her neck, nods as he enters. Her hands shake with age, but her eyes are sharp and kind. Back again, Eli, she asks, though she already knows the answer. I saved something for you. From behind her desk, she pulls out a magazine. Motorcycle Mechanics, its cover showing a gleaming black bike with chrome that catches the light. It came in yesterday, she says. Nobody else reads these anyway. Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. Eli says one of the few times his voice sounds strong. He takes the magazine like it's made of gold, finds his corner table, and disappears into a world of engines and freedom. The afternoon passes in a blur of classes where Eli sits alone, teachers who don't call on him, and halls where he presses himself against walls to avoid being seen. When the final bell rings, he waits until most students have left before heading out the side door, taking the long way back to St. Horace. Martha's means fewer chances of running into Deacon. The path through Palmer Park adds 15 minutes to his walk, but the trees and quiet are worth it. Here, Eli doesn't have to be an orphan or a ghost. Here, with birds singing and leaves making shadows dance on the ground, he can breathe. He finds his spot, a bench with a view of the road, where bikes sometimes pass. Sitting cross-legged, he opens his notebook to a fresh page and waits, pencil ready. Today might be the day he sees a Harley up close. Today might be the day something changes. Eli doesn't know it yet, but the thunder of engines is already growing in the distance, heading straight for Sleepy Millbrook and about to change everything. The rumble came first, a deep sound that Eli felt in his chest before his ears. Then came the roar that made birds fly from trees. The Thunder Riders Motorcycle Club rolled into Millbrook like a storm. 20 bikes in a tight line that made the ground shake. Eli watched from his bench, pencil frozen above paper as black and chrome machines passed on the road below. The riders wore leather vests with patches that showed a fist gripping lightning. Their helmets gleamed in the sun. People on the sidewalk stopped to stare. A mom pulled her little boy behind her legs. 2 old men shook their heads, but Eli couldn't look away. This wasn't just noise and scary looks. This was freedom on 2 wheels. For 3 days, the bikers stayed at the Pine View Motel at the edge of town. Eli walked past twice, trying to see the bikes up close, but never brave enough to cross the parking lot. On the 4th day, they appeared in town. 3 of them walked into Joe's diner, while Eli was using his monthly allowance on a small order of fries. Don't stare, hissed the waitress to another customer. Those Thunder Riders are bad news. The biggest man Eli had ever seen ducked to enter the diner door. His red beard reached the middle of his chest, and his arms were covered in colorful tattoos. Behind him came a surprise. A little boy, maybe 6 or 7, with the same bright red hair. Dad, can I have a chocolate shake? The boy asked, his voice high and excited. Sure thing, Mikey, said the giant in a voice like gravel. Find us a seat while I order. The boy climbed into a booth 3 tables from Eli. He swung his legs too short to reach the floor and looked around with big green eyes that missed nothing. Those eyes found Eli and the motorcycle magazine open beside his fries. Do you like bikes? The boy asked loud enough for everyone to hear. Eli froze. Everyone in the diner seemed to hold their breath. The big man, Mikey's dad, turned slowly from the counter. Yes, Eli managed to say. The man studied Eli for 10 long seconds, then nodded once. Mikey, let the kid eat in peace. But the next day, as Eli sat in Palmer Park with his notebook, a small voice piped up from behind a tree. That's not how a motorcycle works. Mikey stood there, hands in the pockets of his jeans, red hair bright as a stop sign. What? Eli asked, surprised anyone was talking to him. The pistons, Mikey said, pointing at Eli's drawing. My dad says they need to connect to the crankshaft. You drew them wrong. Eli looked down at his sketch. The boy was right. How do you know so much about engines? Mikey grinned, showing a missing front tooth. My dad's the vice president of the Thunder Riders. His name is Redwood cuz he's tall as a tree. He lets me watch when he fixes bikes. That day they talked for an hour. Mikey told stories about life on the road with the Thunder Riders, sleeping in different places, eating diner food, and the way all the bikers treated him like a little prince. Eli shared his knowledge of local birds, pointing out a blue jay that swooped overhead. Where's your dad? Mikey asked as the sun started to sink. The question hit Eli like a punch. He died. My mom, too. Mikey's eyes got big. That's sad. Who takes care of you? Live at St. Martha's. It's a home for kids with no parents. Oh, Mikey thought. For a moment. My mom left when I was a baby. Dad says, sometimes people can't handle the life. But I've got 100 uncles in the club. They're my family, too. The next day, Mikey found Eli again. And the next, they had an unspoken agreement to meet at the same bench. Mikey would bring candy bars to share, and Eli would bring facts about engines he'd learned from his books. For the first time in years, Eli had a friend. You should meet my dad, Mikey said on the 5th day. He'd like you. You're smart about bikes. Eli shook his head quickly. No, that's okay. This is better. Just us. The truth was, Eli was scared, not of Redwood, but of losing this small happiness when the bikers eventually left town. Better to keep it simple. Better not to hope for too much. But secrets don't last in small towns. On Monday, walking back from school, Deacon and his friends found Eli on the park path. Hey, orphan boy, Deacon called. We saw you with that biker kid. What's that about? Eli's heart raced. How did they know? Just talking about motorcycles, he said, trying to sound boring. Befriending baby bikers now. You really are desperate for family. Deacon laughed, shoving Eli hard. Eli stumbled back, his foot catching on a tree root. He fell, his lip hitting a rock on the way down. The taste of blood filled his mouth. Stay away from normal people, Deacon said, standing over him. Freaks should stick with freaks. Maybe you and those criminals deserve each other. They left him there, blood dripping onto his shirt. Eli touched his split lip, thinking about Mikey's smile, about Redwood's massive hands, about what might happen if the Thunder Riders knew a kid from school had hurt their little prince's only friend. That night, rain pounded on the roof of St. Martha's. Eli lay in bed, listening to water hit the glass, touching his swollen lip in the dark. Mikey was temporary, a visitor who would ride away with his dad and the Thunder Riders. But Deacon would still be here. And now he had a new reason to make Eli's life worse. Tears mixed with the sting of his cut as Eli made his decision. Tomorrow, he would tell Mikey they couldn't be friends anymore. It would hurt, but it was the only way to keep them both safe from what might come next. For 2 days, Eli managed to avoid Palmer Park. He took the long way around town, his eyes always watching for a flash of red hair. His heart felt heavy, but his mind was made up. It was better this way. The town buzzed with news of the summer Sunshine Festival. Posters with bright yellow suns hung in shop windows. Workers set up booths along Main Street. Every year, Millbrook celebrated the longest day of the year with food, games, and music. Most kids from St. Martha's looked forward to it. They each got $10 to spend however they wanted. But this year, Eli thought about staying home. Everyone goes to the festival, Ms. Winters said when Eli mentioned a stomach ache. She put a cool hand on his forehead. No fever. Nice try, but you're going with the others. Saturday morning dawned bright and hot. The kind of day where the air shimmers above the roads. Eli dragged his feet as the group from St. Martha's walked downtown. Music already played from speakers tied to lampposts. The smell of fried dough and sweet cotton candy filled the air. Stay together until lunch, Ms. Winters told the younger kids. Eli, you're old enough to go on your own. Meet back here at 4 o'clock sharp. Eli nodded, took his $10, and slipped into the crowd. His plan was simple. Stay far from the center of town where most people gathered. He would find a quiet spot to sit, maybe buy a hot dog, and wait for the day to end. The festival stretched across 6 blocks of Main Street. Booths lined both sides, selling crafts, food, and offering carnival games. People packed the sidewalks, laughing and talking over the music. Eli kept his Head down, moving through the crowd like a shadow. He had just passed Pete's hardware store when a voice called his name, a voice he knew. Eli. Eli. Eli's stomach dropped. Across the street, jumping up and down, and waving both arms, stood Mikey. His red hair shone like fire in the sun. Next to him towered Redwood, massive in a leather vest despite the heat. Mikey said something to his father, then broke away, darting between stopped cars. Toward Eli. Wait, Redwood called, reaching for his son, but Mikey was already running. Time slowed down for Eli. He saw what no one else noticed. The delivery truck, turning the corner too fast. Its driver, looking down at a phone. The truck, headed straight for where Mikey ran. Tiny in the middle of the street. No one else moved. No one else saw. Eli didn't think. His body shot forward, like a spring uncoiling. His feet hit the street hard, arms reaching out. The sound of the truck's engine grew louder, filling his ears. He saw the driver's surprised face finally looking up. Saw the brakes being hit. Too late. 3 more steps. 2, 1. Eli's hands found Mikey's shoulders. Small bones under a thin t-shirt. He wrapped his arms around the boy and pushed off with all his strength. They flew through the air together as the truck missed them by inches, so close that Eli felt hot wind on his back and smelled burning rubber. They hit the ground hard on the other side, rolling onto the sidewalk. Pain shot through Eli's leg as gravel tore through his jeans and into his skin. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the world exploded into noise. People shouting, the truck screeching to a halt, someone crying. Mikey. Redwood's voice boomed. Above it all, the big man pushed through frozen onlookers to reach his son. Eli tried to stand, but his leg hurt too much. Blood soaked through his torn jeans. His hands shook like leaves in a storm. Mikey sat up, dazed, but unheard. Dad, the boy cried as Redwood scooped him up in massive arms. Are you hurt? Are you okay? Redwood's voice shook as he checked his son for injuries. I'm okay. Eli saved me. Mikey pointed at Eli, who was trying to back away to disappear into the crowd like he always did, but a hand caught his shoulder. Gentle but firm. Redwood turned Eli around to face him. The big man's eyes, green like his son's, were wet with tears. His beard couldn't hide the way his lips trembled. You saved my boy, Redwood said, his deep voice breaking. You put yourself between my son and that truck. Eli didn't know what to say. His leg throbbed, his heart hammered against his ribs. He was going to get hit was all he could manage. Around them, people gathered to stare. Eli saw some of the other Thunder Riders pushing through the crowd, their faces worried. He saw Ms. Winters from St. Martha's, her hand over her mouth. And, at the edge of the circle, he saw Deacon and his friends watching with wide eyes. Redwood put his free hand big enough to cover Eli's whole shoulder back on Eli. A life for a life, he said, his voice now steady and serious. The Thunder Riders don't forget their debts. 2 bikers helped Eli stand. Another looked at his bleeding leg and tied a clean bandana around the worst cut. Redwood spoke quietly to them, still holding Mikey close to his chest. The men nodded, their faces solemn. Get the boy back to St. Martha's, Redwood told the tallest biker. Make sure he's taken care of. Tell them I'll be coming too. Talk tomorrow. What about? Eli asked, fear mixing with confusion in his chest. Redwood looked down at him, his green eyes clear and certain. About family, he said, and about how we honor those who risk everything for one of our own. As the bikers helped Eli through the whispering crowd, he caught Deacon's eye. For once, the bully had nothing to say. Eli woke to a strange sound, like far-off thunder on a clear day. He sat up in his bed at St. Martha's, his leg still sore from yesterday. Ms. Winters had cleaned and wrapped his cuts last night, her hands gentle, but her face worried. That biker man said he's coming today. She had told him. I don't know what to think about that. The rumble grew louder as Eli got dressed. He limped to the window and froze. In the distance, a line of Motorcycles stretched as far as he could see. Not just the 20 bikes from before. Hundreds of them filling the road like a river of metal and chrome. Eli, Ms. Winters called from downstairs. There's someone here for you. Heart pounding, Eli went down to find Redwood standing in the front hall. The biker looked even bigger inside, his head nearly touching the ceiling. But today he wore a clean button-up shirt, with his jeans and leather vest. How's the leg? Redwood asked. Better, Eli said, though it still hurt to walk. Good. There are some people who want to meet you. Redwood nodded toward the door. Can you come outside? Miss Winters looked nervous, but she nodded. I'm coming, too. The morning sun hit Eli's eyes as he stepped onto the front porch of St. Martha's. What he saw made him stop breathing for a moment. Motorcycles filled the street in both directions, parked in perfect lines. Men and women in leather vests stood beside them. Hundreds of them, all looking toward the porch where Eli stood. 724 of us, Redwood said, his voice carrying in the morning quiet from chapters all across the country to honor the one who saved our future. Eli felt his face grow hot as all those eyes stayed on him. I don't understand, he whispered. Redwood put a hand on his shoulder. Mikey is more than my son. His mother was the daughter of our founder. His blood runs back to the very start of the Thunder Riders. When you saved him, you saved a piece of our history. Redwood faced the crowd. This boy put himself between death and our future. He didn't know who Mikey was. He didn't ask for anything. He just acted. Mikey pushed through the crowd then, running up the steps to stand beside Eli. See, Dad, I told you he was brave. A woman walked up the steps carrying something in her hands. It was a leather jacket, smaller than the others, but made the same way. She handed it to Redwood with a nod. This is for you, Redwood said to Eli, holding out the jacket, made specially last night. Eli took it with shaking hands. It was heavy, the leather smooth under his fingers. On the back was the Thunder Riders patch, but above it was another patch he hadn't seen before. It read, Courage, before colors in gold thread. Only 5 others have ever earned that patch, Redwood said. Put it on. The jacket fit perfectly. Eli felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders. For once in his life, the weight felt right. There's something else, Redwood said, pulling papers from inside his vest. He handed them to Ms. Winters. These are guardianship papers. If the boy agrees, and if you approve, I want to take legal responsibility for Eli. Ms. Winters blinked in surprise, looking at the official papers with a raised eyebrow. This is unusual. There's a process. Background checks. All taken care of, Redwood said. We have friends in the right places. Everything's legal and signed. All that's missing is Eli's choice. Everyone turned to look at Eli, who couldn't find words. Redwood knelt down, putting himself at eye level. Family isn't always blood, he said quietly. It's who risks everything when nothing's asked of them. You've earned a place with us if you want it. Mikey could use a big brother who knows about books and birds. Tears filled Eli's eyes. I don't know how to ride a motorcycle, he said. The only worry his mind could grab onto. Redwood laughed. A sound like rocks rolling downhill. I'll teach you. Got about 700 others here who would too. From the edge of the crowd, someone cleared their throat. Eli looked up to see Mrs. Peterson from the library, her old hands clutching a bag. I heard the news, she said, walking slowly up the steps. I brought your books. She handed Eli the library's copy of Motorcycle Mechanics and his own dog-eared Call of the Wild. I always told you those hands were meant to build something. She smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. Now go find your pack. As the bikers began to move back to their motorcycles, Eli spotted familiar faces in the crowd of towns. People who had gathered to watch. Deacon stood with his friends, their mouths open in shock. When Deacon caught Eli's eye, he gave a small nod. Not exactly friendly, but something close to respect. Ms. Winters helped with the few papers that needed signing. Eli ran up to his room one last time, grabbing his backpack with his parents' photo and his notebook of drawings. By the time he came back down, Redwood was waiting with Mikey. "Ready?" the big man asked. Eli nodded, feeling for the first time that the word was true. He was ready. Redwood's motorcycle roared to life. Beneath them, Eli sitting behind his new guardian, arms wrapped around the man's solid middle. Mikey rode with another biker just behind. As they pulled away, 700 engines started in a wave of thunder that shook the windows of St. Martha's. In the side mirror of the motorcycle, Eli watched the orphanage grow smaller. It didn't disappear. It would always be part of his story. But now it was behind him, not ahead. The wind rushed past his ears, carrying away the sound of the place that had held him for so long. Eli tightened his grip on his new leather jacket and felt for the first